Well, the great carbon tax debate is now underway in the federal parliament, with the opposition leader Tony Abbott describing the Prime Minister as being on the wrong side of the truth. But exactly where Tony Abbott's predecessor, Malcolm Turnbull, stands in the debate is unclear. From Canberra, Philippa McDonald reports.
Tony Abbott was on his bike, but he's not about to give the government a free ride when it comes to the carbon tax.
The Prime Minister said yesterday that the question for members of this parliament was, are you or are you not on the right side of history? Well, let me say, Mr Speaker, this is arrogant presumption by a Prime Minister who is on the wrong side of truth.
When I spoke those words yesterday about being on the right side of history, I was absolutely convinced they were true. I am convinced they're true. Just the same way they were true when Labor brought Medicare in, and just the same way they were true when we brought superannuation to this country, bitterly contested by the Liberals every step of the way.
Tony Abbott says the tax is all about economic pain for no environmental gain.
This tax is all about making the essentials of modern life more expensive. So if this tax comes in as the government wants it to come in, we won't be able to turn on our air conditioner or our heater without being impacted by this tax.
And the opposition leader sounded a dire warning on the ultimate consequence of the clean energy bill.
It is going to turn out to be the longest political suicide note in Australian history.
Yeah! One by one, members debated the bill, but there was a no-show. His name apparently a mistake on the Speaker's list. Ultimately, Malcolm Turnbull would not be speaking.
The member for Wentworth, who was due to speak this morning on the clean energy bills, took himself off the list. But he knew that he could contribute.
The former opposition leader is in an uncomfortable position as a supporter of a price on carbon.
I'm going to study the debate, listen to the debate and read the contributions by members of the House and study the legislation carefully, and then I'll make a decision. All of these schemes, whether it's the one Peter Shergold canvassed when we were in government, or the Rudd CPRS as amended in the negotiations with Ian and myself, or this one, have a lot in common.
Another government move today, announcing the terms of reference for its media inquiry, was easier political terrain for the opposition's communications spokesman.
Today's announcement by Senator Conroy underlines how this Gillard government is held to ransom by the Greens. They're having an inquiry at the Greens' request, at the Greens' insistence, for no reason other than that Bob Brown demanded it.
The Press Council for many, many years has usually been seen as a fairly toothless tiger. But I don't think any editor or any of you would quake in your boots about, a complaint to the Press Council.
But concentration of media ownership is not included in the inquiry's brief.
I don't need an inquiry to establish that the Murdoch press owns 70% of newspapers in this country. We've all known that for 20 years.
News Limited says it's more like 30% of print, but it's still in the government's sights.
The Daily Telegraph have a democratic right to be biased, and I have a democratic right to point out their bias. We therefore need, Mr President, media that is independent and diverse.
In a statement, News Limited CEO John Hartigan said this inquiry started life as a witch hunt by the Greens and has morphed into a fairly narrow look at a mixed bag of issues ostensibly focused on print journalism. The opposition is now set to receive a briefing on the details of the government's proposed amendments to the Migration Act on Friday, and Tony Abbott could meet with the Prime Minister over the weekend to try and negotiate a deal before Monday's shadow cabinet meeting. Philippa McDonald, Late Line.